Attention, please. The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go. Bass in your face. Bass in your face.
Good evening, everybody. My apologies for starting late. Okay. First of all, I just want to say welcome to another episode of Uncommon Sense with Jose Negron. Now, for the benefit of those of you who are not familiar with the channel or watching this channel for the first time, the reason why it is called Uncommon Sense, because here on this platform, we discuss everyday issues where we try to find logical solutions, but not everyone uses logic. So for that reason, it is called Uncommon Sense. I also want to let everybody know that I also have a much smaller channel called Latina Diaspora, where I discuss issues pertaining to Latinos in the United States. The link to that channel is in the description. And I see here we only have good evening, daughters. Thank you very much for stopping by. First of all, I want to give a huge shout out to all those who have already subscribed to the channel, whether you've been a supporter from the very beginning or just recently joined. I really appreciate your love and continued support. I also want to send a huge shout out to all those who follow me on social media, as well as those who allow me to enter into your devices, and those who watch on the clouds, even the haters. So what I'm going to ask you to do is the following. First of all, I'm going to ask you to please, if you have not done so, I'm going to ask you to subscribe. I also going to ask you to like and set the notifications to all. So therefore, whenever I do produce content, you will have the opportunity to catch it live or catch it on the playback. So as you can see by the thumbnail, tonight I'll be having what's called open discussion. And for the benefit of those of you who are not familiar, what happens during open discussion is that I will discuss some topics. And of course, you, the audience, will have the opportunity to opine regarding each topic while we discuss. Also, the audience will have an opportunity to put in the chat those things that they would like me to discuss, and I will do my best to comply. Okay. So let's start with, of course, next week's schedule. Okay. Next week's schedule is going to be, as far as this platform is concerned. I will do a stream on Monday night, Tuesday night on the main channel, on this channel. I will do a stream on Thursday on the other channel, Latina Diaspora. And then on Friday, as always, that will be my night when I'll discuss open topics. Okay, unless otherwise announced because sometimes there are last minute changes to my schedule. Okay. Of course, the first 2 weeks, first 2 nights, I'll be discussing Christian related topics. Okay. Now, one thing I've said before, and I'm going to continue to say this, to those of you who are not Christian or don't share Christian beliefs, what I would ask is, please understand that I'm not trying to compel anyone to embrace Christianity, nor to embrace Christianity as I understand it. I'm just simply just having those discussions uh, regarding topics which are Christian like. Okay, so I'm just going to ask you to please just keep an open mind about it. Okay, yes. Long time no see. Okay, I hope you had a very good 4th of July. If you do hear a little noise in the background, it's because they're shooting fireworks up by the way. Okay. And I have a feeling that's something we're going to see all night. Now, before I forget, the link to join the panel has been pinned. Should anyone wishes to hit that link and opine regarding any topic that I am discussing, they may do so. Let me also make this perfectly clear. If I never seen you before, if I never heard from you before, I will insist that you come up in the backstage to make sure that no one tries to flash anything inappropriate, which will cause the people of YouTube to take down the stream. Okay. And I also want to remind everybody that that the subscriber mode has been enabled for 5 minutes, meaning if you're not a subscriber and if you wish to enter a comment in the chat, you have need to be a subscriber for at least 5 minutes before you're able to do so. Now, the next thing I'm going to discuss, of course, obviously, this is the 4th of July. So, now there are many people who do observe this day, and many people observe this day by something that they go to a parade or maybe go to go visit the grave of a family member who passed away. But more likely, you'll spend time in barbecues, picnics, going to the beach, and things of that nature. Other people do not celebrate this holiday for political and other reasons. It's understandable. When you think about the history of this country, there is a lot of inconsistencies that exist, mainly by the fact that there was a group of people, okay, the founding founders, who were a group of people who believed in freedom and what have you. However, many of them owned slaves. Okay. And when they talk about freedom, they're only referring to freedom for white men. We gotta keep it real. And also, we must bear in mind in our Constitution, a black person was considered 3/5 of a human being. Now, this day is also meaningful in our family because today is my brother Albert's birthday. Okay, let me see. Excuse me. And he would have been 66 years old today. In fact, let me just show an image. This is my brother Albert. Um, as you can see here, he's probably preaching at the church he belonged to. My brother was a lay minister, so to speak. He was also a chaplain, a prison chaplain, and unfortunately, my brother passed away 10 years ago this month. So today, this is his birthday, and I just want to give a huge shout out to my brother Alvin Negron. Just want to let him know that you're truly missed, brother. It's been a long time since you've gone to your heavenly reward, but I know that it was necessary. Okay. But in any case, may he rest in peace. Now, the next thing I want to discuss is, of course, the results of the PD trial. Excuse me, let me just get something to drink. Of course, on Thursday, they announced the verdict. Okay, now this all had to do with alleged allegations of um, not sex trafficking, and narcotics, and prostitution. And he had P Diddy had 5 charges, of which 3 of the charges he was declared innocent, and 2 he was declared guilty. So now, my understanding, he's gonna have to await sentencing for the crimes he was convicted. Okay. Um, and of course, there are people from both sides of the fence. Okay. Because there are those who truly believe that P. Diddy is innocent. Obviously, they're not happy about it because he was found guilty. Okay. And in their eyes, P. Diddy is completely innocent. And then the victims, they're not too happy about it because he should have been found guilty on all 5 charges. So this is a verdict that does not does not satisfy anybody. But the fact of the matter is, P Diddy had his day in court. Of course, he can appeal, and until the convictions are overturned, he's a convicted felon. The problem is when it comes to sexual crimes of a sexual nature, those individuals that get sent to prison, the outlook is not too promising. Okay, because when it comes to any um, crime which involves a woman or a child being SA or sex crimes of that nature, that's considered the bottom of the pecking order. So we just have to wait and see what type of sentencing he's going to serve. Now he did try to gain to get, gain a bond so he could be out um, before sentencing, and his request for appeal was denied. Now I see here we have a guest. So let me just state for the record that the views of those who appear on the panel are not necessarily those of the host. Any attempt to copy the material without the consent of the host is prohibited. By appearing on the call, you waive your rights to your image. Some of the views that people hold may consider offensive. Some views. If you do not like the content, you can block the channel. And now we're going to bring our guest. Good evening. Happy 4th of July.
Happy 4th of July. Can you hear me? Good.
Yeah, I can hear you good. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. How's everything with you?
Oh, I'm doing fine, thank you. I just decided to stay home and just relax. I did some household chores and just basically relax. I'm gonna be going on vacation in a couple of weeks.
Oh, okay. Pretty good. Nice. I'm happy to hear that. Anywhere special?
Yeah. First of all, good evening, Alexander. Thank you very much for stopping by. Well, okay. So I'm taking the last 2 weeks of July. The first week is basically a stay vacation. The second week, I'll be in Atlanta, Georgia.
Ooh, nice. I hope you like it out there.
I'm sure I will. I'll be attending a conference for our local.
Oh, okay. Good stuff.
Yeah. So before we continue, perhaps for the benefit of those who have not seen your channel, you want to discuss a little bit about what you discuss on your channel?
Thank you. Sure. Yes. So, good evening, everybody. My name is Lock Diaries. I have a channel where I call it Lock Diaries, where I pretty much discuss my dreadlock diary from day one. Getting dreadlocks, going from loose natural, transitioning to having locks, and exploring and playing with colors and washing washes and DIYs and professional twists like. I'm just sharing a bunch of information for people who are thinking about the dreadlock diaries or the dreadlock journey, just trying to help them navigate with the products, rules and tips they could use to help them have a successful lock journey. So thank you for letting me do that really quickly. I also have another channel called Grapevine, NY Grapevine, where I'm not that active right now, but it's a lot of gossip and tea and celebrity gossip, things like that. Just something a little bit more different, a little bit more off the topic of, dreadlocks and hair care tips, just more celebrity DIY tips, things of that nature. But thank you, Jose, for letting me do that. I appreciate it.
No problem. Speaking about celebrity, have you been following the P Diddy trial?
I've been trying, but I'm not up to date like everyone else. But I did hear the verdict of the two counts guilty, the other three not guilty. I did hear that verdict.
Yeah. I think, if I'm not so mistaken, I think they're going to have sentencing in October regarding the two charges that he was found guilty of.
I think you're right. That's what I heard as well.
Yes. Good evening, George R.
Oh, hey, good evening, Cashel and Jose. Howdy.
Hey, Jojo, how are you? I love what you're doing out here on these social media streets.
Oh, yeah. Thank you very much. Greatly appreciate the love and the support. But then again, I'm also taking what I do on here out into the real time streets as well.
There you go. The real deal
Yep,
right there.
exactly. And I'm hopefully I hope to also make it out yours and Jose's way, including Dawn's way, so that I can spread my empire there and do exactly what you see me doing out here in Las Vegas.
Oh, believe me, it's truly needed, particularly around the Hunts Point section of the Bronx. I don't
Yes,
know
sir.
if it's still known to be a hotbed for um, the ladies of the evening.
Mhm.
Keisha, is Hunt Point still known as a prostitution ring area?
I would assume it probably is. I feel like they still have those dark blocks where all the truckers are and the industrial area is. So I'm pretty sure it still goes down over there like that. I've been around there probably in the last 10 years or so, and I definitely remember it looking very similar to how it did back in the day. So I'm sure it's still going on.
Oh, nice.
Hmm.
Cool. The only thing I'm going to just quickly say here before I also, interject my 2 cents onto the whole P. Diddy controversy, because I could see that was the topic. What I wanted to say, like
Mhm.
Jose and Cashel, is that there has been just a slight shift in what I do. So yeah, the ladies of what you described, the evening Jose, they're still in the picture, but now the Lord has guided me to a broader audience that not only includes the quote unquote 304s, but homeless people too, ordinary homeless people, or people down on their luck, folks in very vulnerable positions, people who are just, struggling with substance use. And so I told Dawn is that my next target is going to be Kensington neighborhood in Philly.
Oh, I love that. That sounds so nice.
Yep. So now I have a more of a broader audience. So like whenever I have my notebook out and ready, just recording everybody's names whom I interacted with, it's pretty diverse at this point. So yeah, at first it was the ladies or the 304s, but now it's a diverse audience or whoever the Lord is going to guide me to. You let him be the train conductor, he'll keep you on the right track.
Amen to that.
Yep.
And
So
and we have said this many times, and we have to continue to say it
yes.
because of the ops will take whatever our friends doing and twist it or whatever. What
Oh
we're
yeah.
doing, we're not condoning illicit behavior. However, there are many reasons why there are people who are out there, not just the so-called 304s, but the homeless people. Many people out there have untreated trauma. Okay, many people are are victims of circumstances beyond their control.
Exactly though.
I
And
agree.
thanks for sorry, go on, Michelle.
No, I'm sorry. I'm going to just say I agree. I'm actually working with the homeless population community right now. I had a career switch, and there are a lot of homeless people who fit into the group of people that are all also considered, the people that are sensitive or mental health, support leaders, or people that need like special housing services. So I can relate to that right now.
Awesome. And yeah, those are the people whom are also being recorded down into my books as well. Absolutely though. And then yeah, and thank you, Jose, for putting out the other disclaimer in regard to how none of us around here are condoning illicit behavior or just that kind of sin, to be quite honest, though, because yes, the kind of love that I share is the kind of redemptive love that challenges you to do better and become better and to recognize your own dignity. And that does also mean, taking the steps to transitioning out of the lifestyle because yeah, the Lord says come as you are, but that does not mean stay as you are. So I think
Well,
so.
unfortunately, it's a situation where um, certain individuals have taken what you do and try to paint a different narrative. So, out of necessity, I have to keep stating the obvious.
Well, one of these days I will be uploading a video on my platform here, Jose, and then that'll definitely set a clearer picture as to what I do. It's the same kind of like stuff that you see some of the secular channels do, except mine is not going to be like that though. And I'm not trying to discredit the secular channels that do what I do because I think they do a great job, but there's going to be a difference between mine and theirs because they don't ever mention God or his love, his redemption, whereas I'm all about that and that stuff is going to be all over the video. So there's a huge
Yeah.
difference.
I feel like there's a lane for everybody out here, and the more you make your lane more narrow and more unique and more different from everyone else's, the more you'll stand out.
Yeah.
Yep.
But you know something, Keisha, I'm glad that you're here because I was going to give you a call this weekend. Um, which was I want to do a live regarding the myths regarding single moms. And hopefully, if you're available, you will hop on and you will share your point of view, because unfortunately there's a lot of misconception regarding single moms.
Yeah, especially in 2025, because us millennials, we're not, what are the Y Genzers now, or the Gen Ys right now? We're like a total different generation, and things are totally different with the single moms of this generation compared to the single generation moms from like the 80s and the 70s and the 60s. So I look forward to that, and I'll definitely try to be present.
Yeah, because look, that, and this is something that has to be said. There are many reasons why a woman is a single mom. One of them is because the father or the husband passed away, and she's a widow. Okay. Also, she could have been a single mom because she could have been the victim of abuse or domestic violence. Okay. And then you have some single moms that unfortunately did not make the best choices when regarding to granting a man that unique privilege of bringing life into the world. So we have different reasons why women become single moms.
Yeah, and we also have the group of women that are single moms because they lost their husband or they lost their partner, you know, way too soon.
Exactly. And of course, the lady I'm involved with, she's a single mom as well, with only one child.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that single moms nowadays get a bad rap because of what is relevant right now in culture, in media, and TV. It has nothing to do with the prior generations. It seems like everything is being based on what's happening right now, and that's unfortunate. But I understand. It's like a what do you call it? Like a bubblegum time zone type kind of thing. Like people just remember things just for a moment, they just move on. So the attention span is short, I guess, so to say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And and basically the information out of social media is to avoid single moms like the plague, because of the fact that you don't want to be responsible raising another man's child, and then there's the issues of trying to discipline the child, and then the mother, it does not allow the stepfather to do so, and then combine that with there are some single moms that have really outrageous standards or expectations as far as the stepfather should be.
Yeah, I think that, it's a complex and nuanced topic, and thankfully it's not black and white. That's a good thing though, because you have like a lot of people who make kind of like a false dichotomy when it comes to single motherhood. You have those who flat out say it's just only exclusively a terrible thing, or it's just only strictly like a good thing though. And no, I think there's like another avenue that we can take. It comes with its pros and its cons, but it doesn't mean that it's an end all be all, because you actually have like plenty of wonderful single mothers, great ones, beautiful ones, who are actually, doing a wonderful job at raising their kids. And if the father's not really around, sometimes it's better if he is absent, if he's just going to cause more pain. And then hopefully, you know, a good man can come into the picture and be more fatherly than the biological father, though. That stuff that actually does happen. It truly does. It can actually work out. But then you do have like other times where, yes, she gets with a man for the wrong reason because she's looking for somebody who could take care of them. I don't think that's coming in with the right intention. So it's kind of nuanced and it's not so black and white, but that's what I would put on it.
Yeah. I also wanted to add as well. I'm sorry if I have background noise. I live in a first floor and I live right where the Macy's parade fireworks occurred. So you may know
Um,
fireworks in my
No
backyard.
worries.
don't feel so bad. I'm experiencing the same thing, and I'm on the 10th floor. So
Okay, okay. I just wanted to put that out there. But I just wanted to add as well too that there are many of women who are in their late 40s and mid 40s and early 40s who are well prepared to be a single mom just to have a baby just because they know their time clock is ticking. So I wanted to add that population of people in there for you as well. And they don't care about the man's situation, his lifestyle. For them, they know they have a small amount of time to conceive, and if not, they may not have the money to freeze their eggs and do the in vitro later. So it's almost like a attempt of desperation to get pregnant before a certain age, and they're okay with that, and they will not want the man in the picture if it causes stress or heartache or anything, because it's all about them.
and if that's their decision, that's fine. My thing is they need to be able to deal with the with the consequences of their actions. Because unfortunately, we're living in a day and age, and I'm gonna say this for both sexes, not just the ladies, but there are people from both sexes who are not making the best of choices, and then they're complaining that the consequences is not what they expected.
I.e., lust, right?
Yes.
Plus, like, it feels so good. Like, when you're in your 20s, it's like so uncontrollable. But the older you get, the more like, you cannot pay attention to your emotions, you have to pay attention to your mind, and the consequences behind the emotions are detrimental sometimes. So you gotta think with that bigger brain, that smart cap, because you cannot afford to make the mistakes you did in your 20s, in your 30s and 40s, because life just changes and sometimes you don't get a do-over. So gotta make the smart decision. And it honestly seems that everyone is having unprotected relationships, which makes it worse right now, because that leads to a lot of situations where we're talking about right now, single mothers sometimes.
Yeah.
Not only the fact that unplanned pregnancies, but also STDs, and also exposing yourself to dynamic activity. Now, let me explain to you what that means, Keshawn. Let's say you decide for whatever reasoning or whatever, engage in intercourse with someone that you don't know very well, without any protection. Okay, you don't know what demons that person is that dealing with. So by you engaging in sexual relations with someone that you don't know, you dealing with whatever influences that person is dealing with. Would you agree, George R?
Yes, and you're talking about soul ties, so because sex is more than, as we already know, it's more than just this physical experience. It's actually a energetic and spiritual contract that you are forming with the other person. So the spiritual realm recognizes you too as being married. So like Cashel, like, do you know how like whenever like somebody has done it with somebody and that person basically, I guess you could say, screwed the next person and so on and so forth, you notice how jealousy issues start to emerge.
Absolutely.
Well, guess what? There are spiritual roots to those jealousy issues. It's deeper than one could ever imagine, because when we do it with that person, you marry that person in the spiritual realm. You form that soul tie. And even in like 1 Corinthians 6 verse 16, it reads, Or do you not know that he who is joined to a prostitute becomes one body with her? For as it is written, the two become one flesh. So essentially, that's also a saying is that whoever you do it with, whether it's a hooker or not, you basically marry her or him in the spiritual world. So like when you do start to feel a little bit jealous and possessive, you're feeling close to her and it kind of bothers the man that she's doing it or vice versa. Well, yeah, of course you're going to feel a little jealous though because you married that girl, man. You married that girl. I mean, you married that man, miss. You're joined together. So it's deeper and no wonder why. And can you just see like the kind of mess that this lust has caused? Jealousy issues, anger, resentment. Yeah, because you guys married each other.
Yeah, I've been in these situations. I was a young girl in New York City from the Bronx. Had friends that were doing it since junior high school, and I wasn't. And they were telling me about orgasms and stuff, and I didn't know what that was. And they were like, "Yeah, girl, you gotta do it. You ain't cool until you do it." Peer pressure age, horrible, horrible experiences.
Exactly, though. And this, even just for like this one woman I spoke to out there on the streets, not saying her name, but since she was so comfortable with me, I did ask her an honest question. I did ask her, does she feel some kind of disgust after she is done doing what she just did? And she admittedly said yes. And she feels disgusted because she felt that a part of her soul was just robbed or that she caught an STD, in other words, sexually transmitted demon. And I'm like, that's just what it was. And so, really got her thinking though, that, like there's spiritual roots to that disgust that she was feeling. There's spiritual roots to maybe this jealousy or this resentment that one is feeling. If, one partner decides to casually have it with the other. People don't
Mhm.
recognize that. That's why, I have this mini series going on about sexual purity, though. Because look, I've been there and done that. You get tired of it.
Yeah. And another problem is when you engage in intercourse with a high number of individuals, say 100 or 200 or even 300, whatever, because we all know there are women that actually have the high of a body count. The problem is first of all, uh, if she ever decides to engage in a monogamous relationship, the fact of the matter is she doesn't know how to be monogamous because she's been basically for being group a human recreation center for a lot of men. Okay, so you know, for a woman that's been promiscuous and then all of a sudden to become monogamous, it's a big challenge because first of all she's used to all those different sexual experiences, whatever, and there's always the temptation of not being able to maintain a monogamous relationship. And we also must accept the fact that there's certain individuals where, for whatever reason, they're not capable of maintaining a monogamous relationship.
Exactly, though. It does become very difficult, though, with all the soul ties formed because she's married to so many men in the spiritual realm. You got a lot of husbands out there, but thank God it's possible to break those soul ties. It's just going to take some time, though. But even after breaking them, there is always going to be some residue left behind because the spiritual realm recognizes you too as being one flesh, one body. That's actually the original design of sex.
You
Mhm.
see, and the bad thing is like not every girl has a mom. Not every young girl or young woman has a mom that's gonna teach them about the birds and the bees, how to protect yourself, how to court a man, how to be ladylike, how have great feminine hygiene. Most men may not believe that, but that's really not as real as you guys think common sense is. Like many women are not equipped to have these conversations with their daughters. When it comes to that age where they think they're about to, have, that next level of the birds and bees. Or, some women, a lot of women, just scare their children, telling their children like the worst horrible things about, you know, sex, to tell them not to do it, but they don't really sit them down to teach them the things they need to know. Like a lot of women find out the hard way by getting STDs, by getting pregnant at young ages, to know the do's and don'ts. There's no like there's not really a sisterhood out there where there's girls in high school telling you what not to do. They're telling you all the things you should not be doing, and most girls are hiding it from their mom, unless they have a sister or a cool auntie or something like that. So my whole point is for some population of women, I'm gonna say from my generation, from the millennial generation, like they didn't always have that kind of mother or auntie or grandma growing up to have these kind of talks with them about becoming a woman. It was kind of like a don't talk, don't ask conversation, like a ghost in the room kind of thing. But for this generation, maybe it's different, but there is a group of women out there, whether religious or not religious, their mother didn't have those parental skills to teach their daughters, how to be a woman, how to be a lady, how to have a husband, how to be wholesome, how to be a great wife. Those conversations didn't really happen for a lot of women.
Agreed. Then also what also came to mind is Keisha. So like I'm also a millennial too. So what I've noticed that you do have like a handful of women in our generation who also grew up without fathers either, which then resulted in things like daddy issues. Definitely no disrespect or any offense to any woman who's gone through that. But a woman like that is probably not going to have the best selection in men. And that also means partaking in premarital sex. Lots of it too, because she's already dealing with a self-esteem and self-respect issue as a result of experiencing a father wound in her lifetime. I've seen it.
Well, unfortunately, we're living in a day and age that we have a lot of people, men and women, are being raised by single parents, mainly single moms. Now, let me just state for the record, so I don't come across as being anti single mom. We know there are great single moms out there that have done an amazing job raising their children. There are other
Exactly.
single moms that have not done such a great job. Okay, and the reality is this: if you for a child to grow up healthy with a healthy self-esteem and self-worth, they do need to have a positive male parental image and a positive female parental image involved, because it does take two adults to raise a child. Yes, there are single moms that have done a great job dealing, raising their children. But they have more challenges involved because a lot of the times the single moms have to go out there and work. So therefore, they're spending a huge part of their time away from their children. So a lot of the times, unless they're in daycare or whatever, or there's a family member, the children are left unsupervised. Okay. So, it does take two parents to properly raise a child. Unfortunately, not all of us have been blessed to have that come from a two-parent household.
Amen. I will also say that my mother was also a single mother, but she was not a bad one, though. She for sure was an exceptionally awesome single mother. But then also at the same time, um, she still needed to be sure that her kids still actually had a male figure, whether that was through my father or my uncle or my male school counselor, because by God's design, we are actually supposed to have both that male and female influence growing up during our formative years. We need definitely the maternal instincts that kick in, or just like a mother's maternal way of handling us. But then we definitely, especially boys, we undoubtedly need that masculine energy around us, whether that is through our actual biological father or an uncle or a cousin or whoever, or more importantly, our heavenly father too, if the household is really going to instill in godly values. So
I
that's
agree, and some of us get it, some of us don't. But I agree with everything you just said just now. Just go there.
amen. But
Yeah.
oh yeah, like
Mhm.
I was going to say one last quickly, Jose. So in middle school, like from or basically I guess it's called junior high, but I grew up calling it middle school, 6th to 8th grade. So from 6th to 8th grade and all throughout high school, like I do remember, some of the students I grew up with, not all, but just some, I noticed that definitely they were starting to develop problematic personalities. A lot of issues, lots of attention seeking, a lot of seeking validation, and just also not really going down the best directions at all. But memory is now coming back to me. And one thing I noticed, Jose and Cashel, is that they did not really have their fathers around. They had a bunch of soul wounds. They came from broken homes, no clear cut sense of identity and self respect and self esteem issues. I'm remembering that now. And so now at 32 years old, I'm thinking that, okay, so that makes a lot of sense as to why, like the kids I grew up with had all these counterproductive behaviors, including, by the way, including myself. I'm not going to say here that I'm better or worse, though, because I actually had some of my issues too growing up, obviously, because I've shared my story. But if you look deeper into it, you'll realize why that stuff happened.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so,
Yeah,
And I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just saying, like growing pains. Sometimes you go through some rough things. And it can be painful mentally, physically, or emotionally. And you may not understand it at the moment, but you understand it later.
exactly, though. And definitely, it's not to excuse any of our counterproductive behaviors back then, though, because as grown men and women now, the world's not going to tiptoe around whatever our soul wounds and traumas were. We actually have to take ownership of that no matter what. And so, for some of like the quote unquote haters or ops, yes, there were times where my dad was just absent. He was not around. Yeah, that my dad was not really involved in my upbringings. Didn't really come around until later. However, that all that stuff is not meant to punish me. It's meant to capture my attention. And so that is just a sign not to pursue his path, because there were times where, yeah, he was just being an absent father. But when I have my kids, I cannot go to sleep at night knowing that I'm being an absentee father. Absolutely not. Because in 1 Timothy 5 verse 8, it clearly says, if one fails to provide for one's own household, he has denied the faith and is worse than an infidel or non-believer. I would rather not fit that picture, but my father did.
Mhm. And of course, those in the LGBTQ plus community will argue that same-sex couples can't provide a healthy, nurturing environment. Okay, I'm not. Look, we're just going to disagree on that point. Yes, there are such couples that are capable. I mean, in theory, to provide a loving, nurturing environment. But realistically speaking, if you want a child to grow up with a healthy self-esteem and everything, a child needs a positive parental male figure and a positive parental female figure. No offense intended towards the LGBTQ community. It's just, it's a reality.
Amen. Amen. Statistically speaking, that's just the case, and just by design, that's also is the case too. Much love, because you already know I have a gay brother whom I love dearly, though. But he already knows where I stand on this, though. But he knows that I'm not going to like let go of him off the cliff because of that. Hey, Gigi.
Good
Good
evening, Gigi. Thank you very much for stopping by.
evening.
Yeah, like I have a few gay relatives. You know, I love them to death. Even my gay friends, I love them to death. I'm not afraid of the community. Like them more than some of my regular straight friends. I ain't even gonna lie. Um, I just feel like in today's society, like things are so different from our generations, and we're all adapting, and like learning, pronouns and everything like that, and work culture and all these changes, and bathrooms and identification cards, and job responsibilities, etc., etc. But like at the end of the day, like we're all doing our best, with it, like respectfully, and hopefully at the end of the day, like there's no more hate crimes as a result for that whole group of people that feel like they were suffering and are in a better place now, because I feel like they got a lot of great positive things that work for them quickly, efficiently, and we don't gotta discuss that, we don't gotta talk about that so much, but they're a group that are doing really well in society right now. I'll just leave it at that.
Mhm. Well, I know individuals who are definitely in the who identify themselves as part of the LGBTQ plus community, or so simply the community, because I'm sorry, it's just that I'm at the age where it's kind of hard for me to remember multiple consonants and things of that nature, because I am basically compared to some of these people on YouTube, I'm like 5,000 years old. So, but I respect the members of the community. It's just that I don't agree with what a lot of what they hold and believe. That's all.
Same here though, and like since me and Cashel are millennials here, like me and her are like the last generation not to grow up with that kind of stuff at all though, because there was actually a certain point in my lifetime where I didn't even know like what gender dysphoria is though, because it's just people who have that are just less than a percent of the population, and back then they just kept quiet about it though. They always kept it to themselves, and you would never sometimes have no idea that the person was actually biologically the other sex. So I did not grow up with like stuff like non-binary and this and that. I mean, that term really started coming out in like the 5 year period, though. That's not my generation at all, though, and obviously I would never accept that. Tolerance is not a Christian virtue, but needless to say, no hatred at all towards that community.
Yeah.
No, not one bit.
Well, I'm I'm the baby boomer of the generation because I was born in '62, which technically defines me as a boomer, or some people
You're,
say I'm like
you're,
5,000
you're you're a younger
years
baby
old.
boomer.
And of course,
Young boomer, whereas I'm a younger. Hey,
I'm old. Let's just say I'm
well,
old.
I'm a younger millennial though, born in 1992, and I'm going to be 33 next month. By the way,
Okay, okay. Well, happy early birthday. But look, in my day, they had a different mindset regarding the LGBTQ community. Basically, everyone was gay. Everyone was gay. We didn't have all these descriptive conditions to indicate which member of the no, the community rainbow that you happen to belong to, and things of that nature. And of course, at one point, it was considered a mental defect. Um, back in the 60s, if you identify yourself as part of the LGBTQ plus community. Okay. Um, and I had relatives that are gay. They're my family. I don't disown them. It's just that when it comes to certain things, I'm sorry, I cannot take part. I cannot attend a gay wedding. I cannot attend a gay reception because I respectfully disagree.
Same.
That sounds like my mom. She was telling me that she can't go to a church where the pastor is gay. She says, I can't do that. She's like, the Bible says, and I don't go to any church or read any Bible, and I'm not like in any group or anything like that. And, I respect everyone who's in their specific group, no judgment. I understand everyone has to do what they have to do. But I'm just like, Mom, like, we're in 2025. Like, life is different. Like, we have like unisex bathrooms now, and we have people in the LGBTQ plus community that can adopt children and get married and change their identity on their license. Like, this is not the 1960s anymore. Like, I understand that's what it was when you were a kid, but like today is so different now. Like, it's not what you grew up seeing. Like, so it's not just weird. Like, life is changing, and for my mom, sometimes I think it's hard for her to accept that. It's just like she's disgusted physically, mentally, emotionally when she sees certain things. Like, oh no, and I'm just like, oh man, this is really hard for some people. But there are some baby boomers who are super savvy, like Jose, who knows how to set up live streams and do lives on YouTube from his phone and his computer. And my mom could not do any of this at all on her own.
Well, 3 years ago, I devoted a whole life regarding the history regarding the LGBTQ community. Okay. And basically, they have a history that goes back even before Stonewall. Their history is centuries long. Now, do I agree with a lot of what they espouse? No. But I am able, I guess I'm one of those few baby boomers that I can actually discuss a topic where I don't agree with and not be nasty about it.
See, I'm not there yet. I won't lie. I'm gonna be very transparent. Like, if there's a topic on YouTube that I'm not for per se, I don't feel like I can join and give a neutral opinion. Like, I'd rather just sit it out in the chat if somebody I like is on the panel or hosting it to show support. But I can't do that. I'm not mentally there yet.
Mhm. Yeah.
Again, of course, if it's somebody I know, of course, I can say great stream, I'll share and everything like that. But if it's not in my core value belief, like, it just hit a little different for me, depending on what we talking about. You know what I'm saying?
I get it. And let me tell you something. I can sympathize with your mom as a baby boomer in a way. But one thing, and this is the thing that I try to bear in mind. Okay, I'm going to be exposed to influences and situations where I respectfully disagree with. Okay, and my thing is people are allowed to make whatever choices that they wish. Where it gets to be an issue is when they try to force their issues or their dogma on me. I don't enforce my views and my beliefs on others, and I expect others to give me the same courtesy.
Same, definitely same.
Same.
Like, I don't have to agree with what everybody does on their platform for me to support them. Like, again, showing unconditional support to people I've met on YouTube looks like for me sharing their stuff, commenting on their videos. If they put out their cash app and I got money, like throwing some money to their cash app. Like, for me, that looks like support. Like, for me, I don't know what everyone else thinks. On the platform or in the chat right now, but for me, that looks like support. And again, You could be talking something about, I don't like how black people do this, that, and third, and I'm a black woman, but I'm gonna still show up for you and still like do that for you. But I may not want to jump on a panel, but I'm gonna show support the way I can show support.
Mhm.
You know,
Agree. Now,
take personal on
uh,
because we all
uh,
got our things we do.
yeah, yeah. Um, Georgia, anything we should comment on that?
No, I think it all made sense. I agreed. And it's really just better to come from more of a spirit filled angle on these complicated, nuanced issues, you know? Like, yeah, like Cashel's mom may feel a certain way like about it though because of the time that she lived in. But we have to remember though that if we're going to be very biblically rooted though, we can't really get too much into our flesh and how our flesh is going to handle it though, because the flesh is not a believer, but the spirit is. So we kind of have to look at it through spirit-filled lens before we look at it through any other lens.
I like that you said that too because my mom is a Jehovah Witness. My dad is a Christian, and I know some Muslim people, and I know people of different backgrounds that have different, gods they believe in, And again, like I said, I respect what everybody likes, and again, like I find certain people, certain group stuff kind of interesting, certain practices I personally think is kind of interesting. Like if I had it my way, I would pick certain things from different groups and make up my own religion if I had it my way. But anyway, long story short, again, like I see my mom as a Jehovah Witness, she struggles with certain things and certain things she's good with. Like, for example, like she's really good at, not watching any demonic films or documentaries or, I guess any kind of black magic, witchcraft, whatever the religion says you shouldn't do. She's really good with avoiding those things. But she still has some things she's struggling with, that she tells herself every day, I'm trying to get better, I'm trying to cut this out. So I guess, for all religious people, everyone has that thing they struggle with.
Uh, Good evening, Irby. Happy 4th of July. Look, one thing that I made it perfectly clear um, during my time as a content creator. This is not an echo chamber here. Okay, people can have opposing viewpoints and they can share it here. The only stipulation I ask is to keep it mutually respectable. Okay. Um, I think I have disagreed with virtually everybody that appeared on this platform at one time or another. Okay,
Same here.
and I'm not going this way. We can always learn from disagreements.
I get it. I'm sensitive though. Like I don't really like to have disagreements. Like I really don't like to argue. I don't like to be combative with people. Like I find I just have to like remove myself from certain environments when I feel overly stimulated or overwhelmed in situations. But I'm not that kind of person. Like I want everybody to be on the same page at the same time. Like I don't want to be a referee or a coach and holding people back. Like I don't like that kind of environment at any setting.
Okay. I don't like to referee either, but there've been times where I had to. Okay. One of my streams, I'm not gonna. I mean, I'm not going. I mean, I've had on streams where I had two individuals um, that could not disagree, and
You got
they made their views viewed, and after a while, I have to like, okay, folks, let's table it for now, and let's accept the fact that you two are not going to agree with this point of view because it can escalate, and we just lost our friend here, Keishan. So, you know, I don't mind you espousing a different view and things of that nature. Uh, it gets to the point when it it goes starts to go south. I have to direct it to another direction.
Yeah.
And of course, you know, Georgia, there's certain individuals that have been banned from this from okay, that have been banned from this platform for multiple reasons. I don't think it's necessary for me to state anyone. I mean, it is well known that anyone that is constantly disrespecting me or constantly disrespecting anyone on the panel or refuses to abide by my guidelines, they're going to get banned.
Yeah, you do have a few people, all right, though. Names redacted, but we know who they are. But at least you are willing to extend mercy to them, though, as long as they are repentant about what they did
Yeah.
in time.
Well, the key word, and this is going to be a trigger word for some people, accountability.
True.
Okay? Because look, we're living in a day and age that for certain individuals, accountability is like kryptonite. It's like basically asking them to put their hand on the third rail on the subway.
Well, I think pride is blocking people from doing that.
Yeah. And a huge shout out to the 10 people who are currently watching this stream. I hope everyone's hitting the like button. And if you have not subscribed, please consider subscribing. But uh, but as I stated before, um, I don't have a lot of rules. But if you don't comply, if you don't abide, you don't gain access to the panel or the chat.
Fair enough, though. And we already do know that some folks did not abide by your rules, and you gave them the boot.
Yes. So
But
basically, yeah, I said to them, don't let the Lord hit you with the good Lord split you.
funny. Speaking about that, I don't really talk much about topics that bring in that particular element, if you know what I mean, though.
Yeah.
Because if you look at it at this point, only like 15% of my content at this point has anything to do with race, if you've noticed.
I
Anything,
do.
yeah, anything to do with fleshly stuff. And I said it, fleshly stuff like race, something that's going to become maggot food when it's your time to go. You can see how I don't really talk much about it anymore, right? Because of
Correct.
priorities are shifting. I talk about things that are more eternal, like your soul,
Mhm.
not fleshly.
Speaking, yeah, speaking about that, next week's topics are going to include sin, a Christian concept, and hell, a Christian concept,
Hmm.
which I'm sure it's going to trigger some people off.
Bring it.
Okay. But look, the fact of the matter is, as Christians, we need to illustrate the full message of the gospel. We need to talk about what is sin. We also need to talk about hell and how to avoid it. Because we're not going to preach a Disney form of Christianity that basically You don't have to be a Christian. You could be a nice person and go to heaven that way.
Nor is it a Pharisee, which is all about hell and brimstone and nothing spirit filled at all either.
Yes,
Don't be
because
all.
we don't because we don't want to be like the parable of the publican and the Pharisee, where the Pharisee was praying, basically pray bragging, talking about, well, look at me, God, I'm perfect. I pray every day. I tithe. I give 10% of everything that I do and make. I am not like this publican over here.
And look at what happened, though. The publican was humble and the publican got favored.
Because you know why? Trigger word number one, accountability. Trigger word number two, repentance.
Trigger word number 3, humility.
Oh, okay.
Humility
That's,
means, what's up?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
That means to think of yourself less. So you guys know who you are. You said, let me say something humble. I'm better than you, than this and that. Well, dude, you just contradicted yourself, because saying that be humble means to think of yourself less and to esteem others before yourself, not exalt yourself over others. I'm like, no, 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 no. True humility is really what's going to trigger somebody, you know?
Yes. And we got to state this, humility does not mean, well, I am nothing. I am a worm. I'm the worst form of life ever. No. Being humble is to recognize the fact that, yes, you are made in God's image, but you're not perfect.
Correcto.
And and if the words like accountability, repentance, humility, are these are trigger words for you, then you need to have a time of self-reflection and ask yourself, why does these terms trigger you? Why they create a negative feeling? Okay, that's something that only you and God knows why.
Pride.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hold on.
Good evening, Riza. Thank you very much for stopping by. I hope you had a pleasant and safe 4th of the July holiday, or any holiday or day that you decide to observe, because we all know there are some people who do not observe the 4th of July for political and other philosophical reasons. Okay. For me, yeah, yes. For me, it's also um, my brother Albert's birthday. He would have been 66 today. Unfortunately, he passed away 10 years ago. So, and of course, my brother lives in my heart. But,
Sorry, I'm back. Sorry.
okay. But, yeah. But if anyone is upset with the words accountability, repentance, and humility, you need to do some serious self-reflections. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, because, and not only that, but also like the other word, apologize. Oh yeah, that was another trigger word right there. If you find yourself incapable of just holding yourself accountable to something that you've done wrong,
even if you see the other person with contempt or they may have done something wrong though, but you definitely deep down know that you're wrong about some stuff, you can't hold yourself accountable, says a lot more about you than whoever your quote unquote op is or whoever the person is you happen to have contempt for. This is how it works. I've already been there and done that. But what stuff I did that was wrong though, even if the other person was either being just as bad, it's not an excuse to not hold yourself accountable. People, they know what they do. They know what they did. It's just, they just like to cop out and make excuses because they are so in love with their pride to where they are willing to die for it.
I agree.
To be quite honest, but that's why they need prayer and deliverance.
Yeah. Well,
No
one
excuse.
thing I am looking forward to is at the end of the month I will be in Atlanta, Georgia for a few days.
Oh, funnily enough, I was just thinking about Atlanta. My auntie's over there at the moment.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'm going to be attending a Latino conference representing my union. So not only do I get to go to visit Atlanta, my union is paying for everything. The union's going to pay for my airfare. The union's going to pay for my hotel. The union is going to pay for the conference, and then give me expense money. So, I mean, that's like a huge blessing.
Yeah, I do remember you telling me that the other day. But nice, man. I have never been to the state of Georgia. Only southern states I've been to were Arkansas, Louisiana, and Mississippi.
Okay. Well, I've been to North Carolina briefly, Florida, and Texas.
It's been debatable as to whether Texas is southern or not. It's been kind of more neutral though.
Okay. Well, you know what? I think the only ones that can actually talk 100% are those who live in Texas. And if Dreaming was on the chat, she would be able to opine. And speaking about Dreaming, in the link in the description, there are the links to Dreamy's channel and Gigi's channel. So I'm going to ask you, please show some love to these fine ladies. Check out their content and subscribe.
I would say this though, you do have a lot of people in East Texas who do have a southern draw or do have the quote unquote Texas accent. That is for sure is a thing.
Yeah. So, I mean, I wish Dream was here. She would be able to opine whether Texas is considered part of the South or part of the West. Okay. But it is what it is. Oh. Yes. Thank you very much. And if you can show the link to my main channel, Rizza, I really would appreciate it. Thank you very much. I mean, without a doubt, Rizza, you're one of my best mods. By any chance, did you watch Dreamy's latest live?
I didn't. What's the context of it?
I don't remember exactly what it was. I think it had to do with oh boy, I'm having a senior moment right now. Had to do with the light skin, the debate we got in the light skin, people, things of that nature, and people gatekeeping, whatever. It's all racial stuff that nowadays you don't talk about because you're focusing more on Christianity. Thank you very much, Riza. And unfortunately, it was up very late. Okay, 12:30 in the morning, which is basically way past my bedtime. Okay, so I have to catch it on the playback.
Yeah, I'd have to as well.
Yeah. So, so what did you do today? Did you do anything special this day?
Well, I made my video on TikTok. Did my TikTok video though, but then I also uploaded it onto this channel here of mine. And then I just worked out today. I got in 20,000 steps in, Jose.
Okay.
And yeah, that's about everything that went down though. And I just also ended up connecting with another good brother who is also starting his platform in regard to single men maintaining sexual purity until it's time for consummation.
Okay.
Yep. So that's
Um,
what went down today, though, and then I, made the video in regard to how every day is technically a 4th of July for us, though, because we have already gained our independence in Christ alone.
you're quite welcome, Gigi. I mean, look, let's keep it real. We are a community of small platforms, so to speak. So I have no problem trying to help others. With, you know, to get their views and their channels and get and stuff and get the support where they truly deserve. So I just look at and a lot of the times you have shared my content as well. So I'm just choose to reciprocate. But I do appreciate it when you and other people shared my content.
Lovely.
Yeah. So now I noticed that in the chat, okay, because basically I'm doing the live with my laptop, but I'm also using my smartphone to look at the chat, and I noticed that there's like a character that looks like a crown, and then a number one and a number two. I don't know what's the meaning behind that. Do you know anything about that?
I saw that too, and no, I don't really know anything about that.
Yeah. Could that be a new a feature of StreamYard?
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Could very
Well,
well just be a new update.
okay. Well, and actually, would you believe it? Next month it makes it 4 years that I've been an actual content creator on YouTube.
Nice, nice. Congratulations, man.
Thank you.
I
Thank you.
officially became, I guess you could say, a content creator back in officially, it was December 2022.
Okay. Oh, let's answer the question. It's a premium feature because I happen to have a premium subscription to YouTube.
Okay,
Okay.
so it's a premium feature. Okay, so nice. Duly
Yeah.
noted.
Thanks for I mean, look, I am humble enough to know that there's still a great many things I need to learn.
Same.
Okay.
We all endure until the very end.
Yes. I mean, look, it took me a while for me to learn how to pin the link to hit the panel in the chat. Okay. Now, and of course, sometimes people ask me, why don't I drop the link? Okay. What I do is when I create the live, I will have it already pinned to the chat. So like if for some reason my computer is acting up or going crazy or what have you with the internet, I can go to my phone and I can do the lives from my phone and I can invite people that way. I still have not learned how to share on my phone. So basically, if I'm going to share anything, it's going to have to be with my laptop.
Same.
But, I've been feeling I'm going to be listening to fireworks for a good portion of the night because it is the
Same.
4th of July.
Same. And I still hear them going off in the neighborhood too. And that, can I be honest? I don't really kind of care so much about it anymore. At least it's not as a single guy, though. Like, I appreciate the holiday and what it's about. And then plus, I mean, you already saw my video in regard to how, every day is like our 4th of July, though. But no, I'm actually alone right now. And I just don't really care to really look at the fireworks. I admit that they're beautiful, but just not feeling led to viewing them.
Okay, so you don't like how String Out looks now? Is there a particular reason why, Gigi? I don't know if you can hop on, or maybe you can enter in the chat what features of StreamYard you do not like. I have to admit the way the setup is a little bit different, so I have to like get used to it. Giorgio, I don't know if you have an opinion about that because you don't do that many lives.
Very only every once in a while, but I don't mind. I mean, like, is it looking more complicated now?
Okay, well, this is what you say. It was difficult to get down from Miss Elise's stream today. So I don't know what was the issue. Okay. I did see the stream and I did see so I don't know what was the issue.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it does look different though.
does it look different, like as far as like you setting up the live stream, or just that gonna just apply to even just me as just being a guest? Because I can see the button to leave the studio right now.
Yeah. What I know, okay, what I noticed, when I noticed that there is, of course, my screen, your screen, but then there's like another way to invite or present, but I don't know how to do it, so I do it the old-fashioned way. Um, but then again, I'm not the most tech savvy person in the world. Oh, okay. No problem.
I
No
was
problem.
wondering, Gigi, are you wearing a Nirvana t-shirt? I have one like that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, in the sake of transparency, I'm wearing a T-shirt from um, my um, parent union, which is District Council 37. And of course, last year they supported Kamala Harris. Just for in the spirit of transparency.
Yeah, and I clearly did not, though. I never voted for a pro-abortion candidate, so there's that.
Okay.
Never. Never, ever, ever.
Understood. Understood.
Yeah.
But so, what do you think about this big, beautiful bill that Congress has approved, and I think Trump's signing into law?
A huge mixed bag. Like I said, I'm not impressed with what any businessman or politician is going to do. Sometimes they'll do something good. Sometimes they are going to do something that may not really be a good idea. Because also at the same time, yeah, it's probably is going to help with tips and everything. Like we don't really know exactly what's going to come of it, but it probably is not going to be helpful though if it's also going to end up harming a lot of people who need their meds. I am going to say that
Yes.
because like when it
Um,
comes to certain like public assistance or I don't mind them until like a person is able to really get back on their feet because even there was a certain point where I even needed food stamps, by the way. Yeah, I did at a certain point before I was able to get back onto my feet and leave them behind. I don't mind temporary assistance, but I don't think that we need to 100% financially gut them or cut spending to them, though. They should only be seriously reserved to somebody who is seriously in need for like a short period before they can get back onto their feet. But I personally wouldn't really want something like that to be like defunded, you know? And I'm not talking about people
yeah.
who are basically mooching off of the government or people who are just being a bunch of freeloaders trying to cheat the system. Absolutely not. Please crack down on people who are like that. But I'm not all about 100% eliminating it if you truly are genuinely somebody who's in need. So we shall see, but it doesn't
Yes.
look promising.
Yeah. Good evening, Don Armando. Happy safe 4th of July. Okay. And just for the benefit of those who are hopping on now, we're having open discussion. Okay. I'm not all that crazy about this so-called beautiful bill. Uh, if it makes people being deprived of medical coverage that they need and children being deprived of services and what have you. Of course, I work for the Department of Social Services, so I have a different take, so to speak. And one thing that sometimes I have to like educate. I know, I'm just saying, sarcastically speaking, um, when I'm dealing with individuals that are applying for services, uh, I do have to remind them that when they submitted their application, they gave their consent for us to do whatever, um, contact whoever we needed to contact, as far as confirming where they reside and also confirming how they, if they were employed, how, the circumstances about how and when and why the employment ended. So we do have that right to make inquiries about it, and sometimes people get upset. Once in a while, people get upset when you tell them that, and it's like, no, we don't, no, I don't want you to do that. But the reality is, when you submitted your application, you gave your consent.
Exactly. And I guess for like what I was also thinking about is that even for people who are saying stuff maybe or maybe some viewers who are thinking that you see this is what you guys get. Why did you guys vote for Trump, this and that? Because look at what he was doing. Well, my rebuttal to that is that if you would have had a Democratic president, that Democrat would have prioritized people with an illegal immigration status over you and would have been gearing all the social services towards them, which is what they were once doing in New York and even in Los Angeles as well. And that in itself would do nothing but raise the national deficit, which would actually exacerbate the issue, probably make it even worse than this new bill that was signed in by Congress, or better yet, ratified by Congress. So what difference would it make if you probably would have gotten something worse if a Democrat were in power? You wouldn't be prioritized. So got to be neutral. You got to be actually more of an independent, or better yet, you have to be fourth position, as I would say. Don't be so far left or far right on these issues, though, because you got a bunch of people throwing around a bunch of false dichotomies nowadays when it comes to these issues. You see the issue with that when it comes to the false dichotomy?
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, the issue that I had with Trump, okay, and let me make this perfectly clear, okay, it does not have to do with the 34 charges that he was convicted, or the nearly 100 criminal charges that were levied against him, or the fact that he was unfaithful to his wife more than once, that he actually engaged in a sexual liaison with a porn star. We're not here to vote for a pastor in chief. We are voting for a commander in chief. My issue was that, in my humble opinion, Donald Trump's cognitive skills have declined to the point when I don't think he's able to function as president. So everything else, it's not great, but if you're going to be perfectly honest, just observe Donald Trump speak without all the partisan nuances or views. It's evident. It's evident that his cognitive skills have declined. We have heard for 4 years about Joe Biden's decline of his cognitive skills, and yes, it has declined. But yet, when it comes to Donald Trump, everyone is silent about his cognitive decline.
You want to know my honesty, who I think who should probably run afterwards? Mike Johnson. Mike Johnson. He's Gen X, and he's in his early 50s.
Oh, okay.
So I've always been saying that at some point we should really get a Gen X president in there. Mike Johnson, if you really look at his life prior to him even becoming a politician or any representative in Louisiana, this guy was actually a very godly man, though. And by the way, for people who don't know, but he had a black son, by the way. A black adoptive son.
Mm-hmm.
Look, it's out there. Look it up. I will even share it sometime too, though. But yeah, people, Mike Johnson had a black son. And then that black son said that the Johnsons were an incredible influence to him. And that had it not been for the Johnsons, then their son probably would have gone down a pretty terrible direction.
Mm-hmm.
Mike was a great man. So I respect Mike Johnson, even if I have some disagreements. So I hope he runs.
Yeah. Well, I have stated this before, and I'm going to upset some baby boomers with what I'm going to say. But so be it. No one over the age of 60 should run for politics. And I'm going to tell you why. The problem is, as you get older, there are declines. There are physical declines. There are mental declines. There are cognitive declines. Okay. Now, there are people that can remain sharp into their 70s and 80s. I get it. Hopefully, with the grace of God, I'll be one of those people. Okay? But the reality is this: as you get older, the body becomes more affected to diseases. It becomes harder for the body to recover. Okay, and also the same thing applies with your cognitive skills. There are people that maintain their cognitive skills until their 90s, and then there's people that start to lose even before they get to their 60s. But if it was left up to me, no one over the age 60 should run for politics. Never mind be the commander in chief.
You should probably run then, Jose, since you're an exception to the rule.
No, because you know why? The liberals will hate me because of my pro-Christian stance. The conservatives will hate me because I tend to be more realistic. So,
Like me, I already know I'd be getting hate over all sides of the aisle, though. So now you see why it makes sense to just elect Mike Johnson by 2028.
okay.
Or even JD Vance, to be quite honest, though, because I got to give Trump credit, though, for being just very strategic and tactical with how he moves. So you do have to give him credit for that, because he knows that he's about to be 80 next year, by the way. And so he knows that if anything happens to him, at least a millennial man, JD Vance, will be taking over. Somebody who's old enough to be your son.
Yeah.
Well, so JD Vance was only born in 1984. That's millennial. That's elder millennial, but he is still a millennial like me. So can you see how strategic Trump was and how calculated he was? I give him that. I do.
Well, look, and another thing why I would not run for politics. Could you imagine the amount of scrutiny I'll have to subject myself to?
Lots.
Yeah. So basically, I don't want to they discovered way back when, in the early ages of time, before computers was even a concept, that there's a video of me stealing a pencil in the second grade or what have you, or stealing a kiss from a female classmate in the fifth grade. I mean,
like Jose, you would probably be dealing with somebody falsifying a story about how you kissed a girl without her permission in the 8th grade. Don't elect pervert Jose.
I'm sure. Look. Let's not give our ops more ammunition. I mean, look, the ops have said just about they say everything conceivable about me, other than I'm a child of God.
True. I mean, you have people from what somebody showed me trying to dig into my college records. I'm like, that is funny. Dang, that's just desperation right there to try to find anything. Or talking about college debt or whatever, all this stuff, though, or tax liens or whatever, though, which I am not even remotely concerned about. This stuff is just hilarious. Can you see how people are really trying to scrutinize everything from college degrees or student debt or this or you're that, though? And can you kind of see how super sad and pathetic it is? Because that's just desperation just to try to cancel you.
It's just as sad and pathetic talking about what. Well, you know what, Jojo. It's just as sad and pathetic talking about that you are a disappointment to your dead mother.
That was the funniest one. I mean, it's not funny for somebody to do that, but the desperation is just hilarious. But it's great that it's calmed down, you know.
For now.
It is something that it is good to kind of recap on and just laugh about, though, because it's not saying anything about me, but about others who were just that desperate to just cancel me or you.
And it speaks volumes about you when you actually go into X, as it called now, and you get your Twitter fingers going, talking about how I am, what you're projecting I am when I'm not, and basically what you're doing is you just projecting who you really are when you talk at other people.
Yeah.
And I'm sure our ops are watching in the clouds, and then as soon as the stream is over, they'll get on X, and then they'll do their narratives and things of that nature, and come up with new false narratives.
No, they can kind of watch me all they want to. In fact, I actually would encourage them to do so, and I hope that they're actually gaining something valuable from my platform, though, because I'm pretty sure that the ops are other men. Well, I'd like to ask these other fellow men these questions, though, regarding my series. Are you guys enjoying my mini series regarding sexual purity? So this means that if you're a single man, don't you cross that line with her until you two are actually married, though, and it better be actually a God ordained marriage too. And then you guys consummate the marriage, though. You guys living in sexual purity, okay? And don't even objectify her, though. That she was designed for a reason and a purpose, though, man. So don't even try to gratify your flesh when it kind of comes to that, though. So for, I guess, the male ops who are looking, are you guys mortifying the deeds of the flesh?
And
Yes.
I hope you're not treating her like a human recreation center to satisfy your carnal desires.
Exactly, though. And also, shout out to Asia, by the way, because I guess Asia has been, I could see that she's been commenting on those videos, though, and has been, I guess, enjoying them. Well, I'm glad that you're getting something out of it too, Asia, though. Much love and respect to you if you're viewing, though.
Mhm.
But my series is regarding men, though, because if you're somebody who has that tendency to say some very sexually charged stuff, you guys know who you are. You're definitely not walking in sexual purity at all, not walking in humility at all, and it's actually illustrating your lack of moral restraint. So, men, as another man, man on man, you better get that stuff checked now. Because around here in my count, you're going to be held accountable. Same way some other good, righteous men had to hold me accountable. And that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they're going to click away, though, because after a
Yeah,
while, they can't take it and they rage quit, if you notice. Well,
yeah.
I'll be here until
And
they're ready.
Yeah. And before we end this live, because it's getting close to 1 o'clock in the morning, I'm up my way. And of course we have to talk about those female content creators that spend so much time and energy talking about how they have to look this way, how their hair is this way, how their nose this way, and spending time talking about pretty privilege and how pretty privilege will get you all this and get you all that. I got news for you, ladies. Your beauty is fleeting. Okay. Now, if you take proper care of yourself, you can look reasonably youthful into your 50s or 60s, or even your 70s. Okay. But when you have to put so much doggone makeup, when you have to have Botox, when you have to have lip thinners and things, or make your lips bigger, what have you, when you have to do cosmetic surgery, you're doing more harm to yourself than good. And you are deserving of the title. Instead of calling yourself the Pretty Girl Club, I call you ladies the Pretty Dumb Club.
Oops. Think we lost you, Jose.
Can you hear me now?
Now I can.
Okay. No, I was just mentioning that for all those ladies that put so much time and energy focusing on their looks and how using their looks to gain certain advantages, and they actually go through the ordeal of putting an excessive amount of makeup, using Botox, making their lips bigger, getting and having procedures and making their vagina more tight. To those type of ladies that's so focusing on the outside, be mindful. Beauty is fleeting, and if you focus everything on being beautiful, well, you're setting yourself for failure, which is why I call the pretty girl club the pretty dumb club.
More like the low self-esteem club, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yes. Well, isn't it healthy? Isn't it healthy that we don't have to focus on getting our noses fixed or our lips thin, or we have to have like a hair transplant with me, you know, or I don't have to get. We don't have to worry about Botox and things of that nature because we know that we're not going to improve in God's creation.
Yes, indeed.
Okay. Now, mind you, I'm not trying to be harsh on these ladies, but ladies, when you put so much emphasis on the outside and focusing and trying to use pretty privilege, you're setting yourself for failure. Okay. Now there are some men that are impressed with a pretty face. There might be some men that might be impressed by women with bosoms and a behind that is huge as Texas is what have you. But there are men that are more mindful of a person's character.
Correct.
Yeah. And look, I may not be I may not be a 10, but God cannot improve on what he did on me.
Well, I like Gigi's comment here when she says because men aren't shamed and devalued the same way as they age, though. True
Yeah.
though, because a man can go bald though, and he can just be crispy bald headed like I was, and still, I guess you could say, be valued in some way though. But if a woman goes bald though, then all of a sudden it's a problem. Because by the way, women bald too. There's
Oh
times
yes,
where
yes.
it's thin as well. I've seen it.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. Okay. Look, all I'm saying to these ladies is that you can use pretty privilege to mask whatever mental trauma or things of that nature that you've been dealing with. Do yourself a favor. If you have untreated trauma, um, get therapy, please, and okay, and do yourself a favor, okay? Because at this point, listening to some of these ladies go on about pretty privilege, it gets to be cringeworthy after a while.
Mhm. Yeah. Like, well, the prettiness is still not going to come with them when it's their time up.
That
Their
is,
days are numbered.
yep, that is so
So,
true. So, Is there anything that you'd like to comment on before I start the wrap up?
Yeah, absolutely. So, for at least the men who can actually also appreciate my miniseries, especially as it's doing fairly well on Facebook and TikTok, especially TikTok. I'm glad that you guys are edified by it, though. But for all the other men who can't really stop like making raunchy or sexually charged remarks all the time, every day, no matter what context it is, I'm like, dude, it only shows you that as a man, you lack self control and moral restraints, and that it's time to, get that checked out because the worst thing you can do is commit sexual sins. Like, there's a reason why um, sex offenders are treated worse than the leaders, so to speak. However, whatever is more appropriate to say for YouTube purposes. So
Mm-hmm.
there you go.
Yeah.
Or like,
And
okay, I'll say a chomo. Well, there's a reason why his actual offense is worse. There's a reason for all that.
yeah, and don't get
Because
me wrong. And don't
the
get
work,
me wrong. There's nothing wrong. It's like, for example, if you see a lady that's dressed, you know, you know, that's dressed, and that the outfit compliments compliments her, you can say stuff like, you know what, you wear that outfit very well, okay?
yeah,
Or, I mean, there's nothing wrong by saying that,
you
but
can make a compliment without lusting in the mix. But yeah,
yeah,
that's how you
yeah,
say it though. But yeah,
yeah,
lust, that's the worst thing you can do, man. Like, so for a man who just keeps all any kind of man on here or real time who just man is just always making like some type of innuendo in the mix, dude. I'm just like, dude, get the hell away from me, man, because you keep bringing around that cringy spirit and that energy though, and I don't want anything to do with that. And then two, I don't need to fellowship with that either. And three, it's telling me you lack a lot of moral restraint. No offense. I say that with love.
yes.
I
And
say that with
remember
love.
the yeah,
And
and
it's
remember the three triggering words:
what?
accountability,
Hmm.
repentance, and humility.
Yeah. And hey, it feels good to be liberated from all that stuff either, though, because it just shows that a person is more of a slave to their lust, and their lust is controlling them, as opposed to them needing to control it.
I agree 100%. But in any case,
And that's all my final words. But yeah, you
okay, all right. Well, thank you very much for stopping by. And of course, thank you for all the people in the chat. Thank you, Kesha, for stopping by earlier. This was, I think, a pretty good episode of Open Discussion. And with Open Discussion, we can talk about anything and everything, okay? Now, there's
absolutely.
certain topics I will try to avoid because they're too spicy, too controversial. And this is basically meant to be a relatively chill channel. But just let's keep a proper perspective when it comes to the opposite sex. And if you do need therapy because you have untreated trauma, by all means, get it. There is no shame to admit that you have a problem. The shame is when you don't admit it. Okay. So I will be live Monday, Georgia. It'll be 7:30 your time. And the topic will be sin, a Christian concept. So we're going to talk about something that people don't like to talk about, which is sin and the consequences. So, and of course, as Christians, we got to talk it. Would you agree?
Agreed. Yep,
Mhm.
yep.
Well, in any case, the playback gang, do your own thing. Um, please like and share and subscribe to the channel and subscribe to all the other content creators who've been either live or in the chat. And of course, comments are welcome. Please keep it respectable because if not, the comments are going to get deleted. And of course, thank you very much for stopping by. And of course, we're going to close the same way that we always close. We must do everything possible to avoid the presence of mentally and intellectually challenged. Because if we fail to do so, we will be infected by their stupidity and massive insanity. This has been another episode of Uncommon Sense with Jose Negron saying enjoy your weekend, stay blessed, and peace.
Peace out. Good night.
Good night.